Welcome. My name's Jason. This is Against the Stream, Wednesday night class. Glad you're here. Oh, can you guys hear me? Because I should use this little microphone, I think. Does it even matter? I think it matters for the recording. Anyway. Glad you're here. We're gonna start class a little differently tonight. Is there anyone new? Anyone new either on the Zoom or in the room? First time here or first time to this group? Would like to unmute yourself and introduce yourself?
I'll introduce myself. Hi, everyone. I'm Etienne. I'm in Chicago, and I'm glad to be here.
Great. Welcome, Etienne. I assume everyone else has been to this group or been to this center. Yeah, we're going to start with a little discussion and some contemplation, and just to kind of, instead of a regular kind of intro, and it's a little bit of a lead into the talk or the topic for tonight. So I'm going to read a teaching from the Buddha, if I can get to it. There we go. And so just to kind of allow the ears to soak it in, just kind of be mindful. You don't need to take notes or anything like that. And then I'm going to have you turn or it be in little groups and just have a little discussion about the meaning of this for you. What does it mean for you? What do you think the Buddha is saying here? There's a few different translations of this particular teaching. So let me just kind of read it. In this particular translation, phenomena are preceded by the heart, ruled by the heart, made of the heart. If you speak or act with a corrupted heart, suffering follows you, as the wheel of the cart follows the track of the ox that pulls it. Phenomena are preceded by the heart, ruled by the heart, made of the heart. If you speak or act with a calm, bright heart, then happiness follows you like a shadow that never leaves. I'm going to read it again. Phenomena are preceded by the heart, ruled by the heart, made of the heart. If you speak or act with a corrupted heart, suffering follows you, as the wheel of the cart follows the track of the ox that pulls it. Phenomena are preceded by the heart, ruled by the heart, made of the heart. If you speak or act with a calm, bright heart, then happiness follows you like a shadow that never leaves. So, turn toward, get maybe groups of 3, and I'm going to break you guys out, and just have some discussion about what this means to you. Please be mindful of whether you're oversharing, whether you're undersharing, and allow everyone to have a chance to talk. And I'll ring a bell in a few minutes. Come back to the larger group. One of the challenges with doing something like this in the very beginning is like, then it gets your mind all stimulated, and then we're like, okay, now we're going to meditate. But I'm curious, kind of, does anyone want to say kind of what they think? No right or wrong. There's no right or wrong answers. It's just impression. What is that? What is your impression? What do you think? What do you think about the teaching? Yeah.
It's funny because even before you read that, I was thinking of something I might touch upon today in one form or another, and it spoke directly to it, which was Seb and I this morning were talking about something that went right in line with this, which is, I was having some experiences at work where there was some ambiguity, but I kept finding myself sort of choosing the worst way to take what was happening. And, like, oh, they're mad at me, or I messed up, or that's why they haven't gotten back to me. And it was purely my own assumptions and choosing to take them in a negative direction for whatever reason. And, this quote about everything comes from the heart, like the heart is what will first sort of affect your experience or your perception of what's happening. And that's what I kind of settled on this morning before hearing this, was sort of like, I'm just going to stop choosing to take it that way. There's no reason. I don't have any actual evidence to think this. I just start leaping and jumping.
The mind just churns into perception.
Yeah. Like,
mental fabrication.
What's the worst case this could be? I better prepare for that. And then all of a sudden I'm just feeling negative and anxiety, and it's all created by me. And so I was like, I'm going to stop doing that. And like, just think, hey, it's nothing's wrong. And until if there's some proven evidence that suddenly surfaces, okay, I'll deal with that then. But no need to spin myself into a tizzy of my own creation. Right. And that's just one example of how I think we could all be operating, which is like, no experience happens in a vacuum. There is no objectivity. Like, everything's going to be, you bring something to it, whether you're perceiving it or creating it. And we have a lot more control than just falling victim to our own thoughts.
Right, absolutely, yeah, falling victim to our own thoughts, and then away it runs, And it's not your fault. It's not my fault. It's not our fault. It's conditioning. It's generations. It's your parents. It's, your karma. It's your past lives. It's all of this kind of instinctual behavior and biological kind of imperative that has conditioned us, in such a way. So I appreciate what you're saying, and the realization, right? The recognition of like, oh yeah, this is crazy making. Oh, I'm just causing my own suffering, right? So yeah, appreciate that. Anyone else? Anyone in the room or on the Zoom wanted to kind of give what's their perception or discussion that came up? Yeah.
I'll just add, I was there this morning. I think in addition specifically to what was read, what you read, we can create our own suffering and misery, and then we put it onto others. And so I think part of what Mike is saying is like, we have the power to break cycles of behavior. And then that will reflect in positive ways. Like, we will be reinforced. That's what karma is. So if we can find those ways to break these small patterns of negative behavior and replace them with patterns of positive behavior, they're going to be reinforced positively, and then that just keeps growing and building.
Yes.
But we have to make those small decisions to break cycles, even if they're very minor.
Even if we've already gotten on the train and we're 3 stops down and we're like, holy shit, I'm on the shit show train. We can get off that train, I often envision like the New York subway when you get off at the wrong stop, or actually in Thailand I couldn't even read the friggin' signs, and I would be like, oh wait, this is the wrong stop, and I would get off and realize that, oh, I could just get on the other train. I don't have to get all worked up about it. But yeah, it is those incremental, those moments, and this is what mindfulness helps us to do. Great. All right, we have Rachel and we have Etienne, and then we'll do some meditation.
We in our group we were talking about I got stuck on what was meant by phenomena. I just was thinking like, okay, that just means stuff that happens, maybe. Like could you speak to that, because I got kind of stuck there. And then with the heart thing, like I was just thinking about the process of like sensory input coming in, attaching a value to it, and then reacting to it. But I usually associate that with my head, not my heart. So I got a little confused.
I appreciate what you just said, and there is a particular reason why I read that, identifying heart, and I'll address that in a minute. I want to hear from Etienne.
Hi, good evening, everyone, from Chicago, Etienne. So I'm so sorry. If I understood correctly, the saying goes, the heart precedes phenomena.
All phenomena is preceded by the heart.
Is preceded by the heart or preceded?
Precedes the heart. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So like another different arrangement. So yes. So from what I understood by that is, what I sometimes think about, like just phenomena in general, is like there's just a limit to what our intellects can do, and from that point on, it has to be something that language cannot describe, and that would be things of the heart, So like whatever mental state, however you're feeling at any given moment is how the phenomena of experience will appear to you. So if you're consumed by anger, I don't think you'll be having a really good, loving conversation with anybody, because you're consumed by that state of mind, that feeling. So when the word heart for me just was kind of like synonymous to like feeling instead of intellect, or cognition. I can see that. I think when we did the breakout rooms, I also mentioned that it's kind of like the advice that we're given, I guess, maybe I was that I didn't necessarily take that advice, but like we are who we surround ourselves with and things like this, like, and meaning like if we surround ourselves with negativity, we become negative. Positivity and things that allow us to grow, then we become that, so it's just a different arrangement, but I saw it that way. I understood it that way. So
yeah,
that's all I had.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for just being out there and like sharing and I'm sure you guys all have thoughts about it. And I'll talk a little bit more about it in a bit. I want to read a different translation of the same teaching. Let's see if this lands somehow differently. Teaching from the Dhammapada. It's the first teaching in the Dhammapada. We are what we think. All that we are arises with our thoughts. With our thoughts, we make the world. Speak or act with an impure mind, and trouble will follow you, as the wheel follows the ox that draws the cart. We are what we think. All that we are arises with our thoughts. With our thoughts, we make the world. Speak or act with a pure mind, and happiness will follow you as your shadow, unshakable. How can a troubled mind understand the way? Your worst enemy cannot harm you as much as your own thoughts unguarded. Once mastered, no one can help you as much, not even your father or your mother. interesting, you just changed one word. I mean, it's a slightly different translation. In Buddhism, the word chitta means heart mind. It's like same. And it's really saying, depending on the sect of Buddhism, it's saying that it's here. Your heart, your heart mind is resting in your, it's not just your emotional body, and it's not just your fucking brain. That it's actually this combination of the two, which is called chitta. And so the different translations, we're so intellectually kind of stimulated often that that I wanted to use the heart, because oftentimes it's that kind of what does that mean, the heart, the emotion, and we do make some differentiation here in regards to kind of wisdom practice, heart practice, not actually different, just different roads, right, to the same path, or different lenses, maybe lenses. So phenomena, was it Sesame Street or Muppets? I think it was Sesame Street, where it was like Grover would go, phenomena, no, phenomena, no.
Muppets.
Phenomena, no. That's what I think every time I think that one. Phenomena, no.
Was that what they were really saying?
Phenomena, yeah.
That was?
Yeah. And maybe it was animal. It was one of those two. One of the grumpy ones. So the idea of phenomena is, all that arises. Everything is a phenomena arising and passing away. The magic show is what the Buddha called it. So the things that, we'll get back to that, because actually I want to do some meditation before my legs fall asleep. I'm just playing. They're already asleep. So let's sit, and with a focus particularly on the ending of things. I really want to, if we're going to have the windows closed completely, if we can turn the AC on, that would be great, just so it doesn't get too stuffy. Just a little, just a crack, so we don't all have to breathe in our own phenomena. And may you have a peaceful meditation and no phenomena. No. I know, it's horrible. I'm so bad. I'm such a bad meditation teacher. But I would like for you to pay attention to the ending of things. The ending of the breath, the ending of a thought, the ending of a sound, the ending of a sensation, a feeling. Of course, the beginning as well. But just see if you can follow the sound, the thought, the sensation to its end. Primarily utilizing the breath as an anchor. So settling in. Hearing the bell. So I'm not going to give much instruction, finding a posture that's workable, that's sustainable. And resting in this present time experience, breath, body, sound, choosing whichever one of those three feels like the easiest to connect with. Noticing the arising and passing away of all phenomena, of all things. Relaxing into each new moment, observing the arising, the passing away, thoughts, feelings, sounds, sensations, stories, identities, images, smells, all of it. For the first few moments, perhaps just focusing in on whatever the anchor is, breath or sound or sensations in the body. again and again. Opening to the comings and goings of things. Particularly the ending of breath, of sound, thoughts, sensations. The rapid arising and passing away. This breath is born, lives for a time, and dies, giving rise to a new breath, a new moment. I showed so much restraint, I want you to know. So the whole time, every time my mind would catch something and see it, I wanted to just go phenomena. And that's actually what it actually became kind of something that was happening in my mind as a way of explaining that's just what's happening. It's just phenomena, arising, passing away. And we can call it, anger or resentment or envy or conceit or judgment but it's just phenomena, arising and passing away. So, and it's important, I think, to not take this so fucking seriously, because it's just phenomena. Ashley, you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you. I didn't know how to unmute in our group, so I didn't really get to finish. But so my feelings on the main topic were we kind of bring our own happiness. It's a choice most of the time. Sometimes it's just too much, like too much chaos going on around you. That's just like, this is a level that I am not ready for. And I need to walk away from it. But when you said just to focus on one thing, just the breath, the beginning, and then the end, then I got into the groove of that. And then my neighbor just starts pounding on the walls. And I swear, I'm surprised that I have not said any cruel words. I haven't used the C word. I have been as nice as pie. And I've prayed for this woman. Nothing's going to work. It's too much discontent.
It's just phenomena.
So I got up, went to the restroom, wiped my tears, took care of me, came back and sat down, and I felt way better.
Great.
A little bathroom break, came back. And then I started to do and then you were like the beginnings and the ends. And so I remember dancing around the living room with my boy when he's 20, he's 19 or 20 right now. So when he was a baby, I would dance with him around the living room to Enya. And he just loved it. His eyes were all bright and, he's not a baby anymore. And there's a part of me that's really understanding where he's at in his life. And there's a part of me that's letting go of him right now. And so I understood that whole concept of the beginning and the end.
Thank you.
And I was able to detach with love, letting others voluntarily evolve like that. Like you just kind of helped wipe off that rest of the crust that was lingering.
Ashley, I'm going to mute you now, okay?
Huh?
We need to move on, but I appreciate your sharing. Thank you.
Yeah. So I really get that concept and I appreciate it. So.
Phoenix, if you can hold off for a little bit. Yeah, thanks. We're running out of time. I wanted to touch on, this broadening it out. So that was a training, just mind training. That's quite a stereo, huh? Is that like Dionne Warwick or something? Just acknowledge. Yeah, exactly. But Love it. I love it. So from the Buddhist perspective, the Eightfold Path is it starts with what I kind of talked about last week, which is this understanding of wise view. And so really the first teaching of the Buddha, the Four Noble Truths, and is actually kind of a breaking the denial. It's like, okay, there's suffering, recognize it, see it, and then there's a cause, see the cause, the craving, the wanting things to be different, wanting this guy to drive away, and the attachment to that could be suffering, right? So just for those of you at home, if you can't hear it, there's just like someone listening to 1980s Dionne Warwick or something. And so the working through the Four Noble Truths and then is really all about okay, see with wise view what's happening here as you set yourself upon the path. So it's actually the first of the path is to have wise view, but it's not perfected. It's actually just introduced, right? And the other thing, I think last week I talked about folds, right? The folds, the Eightfold Path, they fold into each other, And the other way to look at it is it's a Dharma wheel. It's a wheel, the 8 spokes of the wheel of the Dharma. Meaning that it goes around and around and around. And it's not like, okay, I did it, wise view, I got it, move on. Step 2, right? It's not linear, it's systemic. It's cumulative. It's a uncovering, it's a developing. And then the other aspect that I wanted to kind of talk about that. And what is the Buddha saying that we need to have wise view about, right? First is the reality of suffering. The second is the impermanent nature of things, right? The anicca, that which arises, what's called the three characteristics of existence. Dukkha, suffering. Anicca, the impermanent nature of things, that which arises, passes away, which our meditation was really kind of focused into a little bit. And then also anatta, which means not self, no fixed and permanent self. So this is one aspect. The other aspect, karma. Understand that we live in the law, we live in the world of causality, the realm of causality. See this. And understand it, and understand what it means. And then the other aspect of wise view is connected to karma is rebirth. There's different people have different views about this topic of rebirth. We'll get to that at some point. So I'm gonna just kind of unpack karma for a little bit, just unpack it a little. But I want to also let you know I'm going with some quotes and some pulled together some teachings, mostly from the venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi, who is kind of one of the foremost kind of scholars on the topic, and most of this is actually from In the Buddha's Words, which is a compilation. It's an anthology of all of the teachings of the Buddha, the Pali Canon, kind of condensed. It's such a useful book for us, householders, non-scholars, just to get, okay, this is the essence of the Buddha's teachings, and his commentaries are also excellent. So if you haven't read In the Buddha's Words by Bhikkhu Bodhi, it's worth a get. Okay, so right or wise view. I'm just going to read a couple things, okay? To be happy, successful, and secure, we must first learn to see ourselves and the world as they are, and should then shape our everyday activities in keeping with this view. So this is all, in essence, what I was just saying. We must also look for solutions to our problems in terms of the relationship to cause and effect. For the universal law of causality operates in the field of human behavior as much as it does in the physical world. The foundation for a fruitful life is an understanding of the moral law of karma. So one of the views, one of the ways that we can kind of begin to look at this. Now, the reason why I used that particular teaching in the beginning of the class is because, to me, when I first heard it, and, 20 years ago, maybe I was thinking maybe 25 years ago, I always kind of just go 20 years ago, even though it's probably been 35 years, I've just kind of stopped at 20. But, and it was like a sutta study class, and we had to do a similar thing, kind of get in groups and discussions. And the thing that stood out to me, it's packed. It's the first teaching in the Dhammapada. It's really one of those very condensed teachings of this is the way things are. That's the teaching. This is the way things are. And you guys caught some of the essence of it, which is that there's choice, that we can choose to suffer or choose to be free from suffering. Right. The piece about karma, suffering follows you as the wheel of the cart follows the track of the ox that pulls it. Karma. This is what's being talked about here. And so, and then the freedom, if you speak or act with a calm or bright heart, then happiness follows you like a shadow that never leaves. So this is the transformation of karma. Just using a different. The one is being pulled along. The ox. What's the ox? Our minds. The ox is our minds, our intention, our action. The mind, the ox. The karma is the cart that's being pulled behind it. The freedom from suffering, the freedom from karma, or the lessening of karma is this whole analogy of the shadow, being bright. I lost it, so I can't see it right now. Speaking, happiness follows you like a shadow that never leaves. Or try to escape your shadow. So karma, the word karma means work, or kama means work. Means work to be done. Means work to be done here, now, not in the future. It is connected to the past, but it's not really about the past. Sometimes I work with people and they've had trauma in their lives. Maybe you've experienced trauma in your life. And one of the things that I often say to them is the worst has already happened. The worst has already happened. And so what are we carrying? We hold on to our traumas, our memories, our pasts. And actually karma isn't about you get what you deserve. It's actually not. And it's about intention, it's about action in the present moment. What do you do with your mind state now? Kind of like what you were saying, I come to this, I can, whatever was happening in the past, whatever, the woman that was talking about her neighbor banging, it's about whatever's happening now with what's going on. We don't need to figure out, sometimes people get caught up into this like, I need to figure out why I'm suffering. Who fucking cares why you're suffering? You're suffering because you were born. And because perhaps you acted unskillfully and so on and so forth, and we have causes and conditions, and it's back to like, it's not our fault. It happened. It's how do we deal with what we have now. How do we deal with what's going on now? So I'm going to say, say a few things from the teachings from Bhikkhu Bodhi about this. Early Buddhists, however, saw that karma acts as a feedback loop, right? With the present moment being shaped both by the past and by present actions. Present actions shape not only the future, but also the present, right? So it's the only thing that we can actually have some agency over is now. Is now. So the constant kind of opening for kind of present input into the casual process makes free will possible. This freedom is symbolized by the imagery of in early Buddhists that use the often, and this is actually a way that the Buddha explained karma, flowing water. Sometimes the flow from the past is so strong that little can be done except to stand fast, right? But there are also times when the flow is gentle enough to be diverted in almost any direction. So if you think about, and I've experienced this, and maybe you've experienced this, there will be times where the karmic momentum is so intense that the only thing that we can do is bear it. I don't know if you were here when I was talking about the story of Angulimala, but Angulimala had to bear the karma of his past actions and not cause further negative karma. That was the only goal. That's what the Buddha said. You know what? You got to take your licks. You killed 999 fucking people, and there's bound to be some repercussions from that, internally, externally, both internally and externally. And sometimes the karmic momentum, it feels overwhelming. If you have experienced this in meditation, where you're assaulted by your mind, where you're assaulted by your past, where you're assaulted by past actions, by all of the, whatever, the things that had you been kind of suppressing, the feelings you haven't dealt with. That's called karma. Sometimes they call it sankhara, which has a little bit of a different meaning, but it basically is kind of the residue of the past. And this practice will help us relieve that, subdue that. And then there's other times where it's actually quite gentle, and like you were kind of pointing to, right? Like, oh, I can see the actions taking place, and I can adjust right in the moment. Sometimes that works. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes we just have to not act in an unskillful way, not let our suffering spill out onto others, right? Sometimes that's all we can do, and this is, where we're getting into the next level of the Eightfold Path, which is wise action. So instead of promoting kind of resigned powerlessness, right, the early Buddhist notion of karma focused on the liberating potential of what the mind is doing with every moment. Like, what's happening now? What's happening now? Oh, look, it passed. What's happening now? This is the liberating potential. Who you are, where you come from, what you did is not anywhere near as important as the mind's motives for what it's doing right now. It's so important. It's so important for us to recognize that. And that's kind of the essence of karma. Yeah. Who you are, where you come from, what you've done is not anywhere near as important as the mind's motives for what it is doing right now. So even though The past may account for many of the, inequalities that we see in life. Our measure as human beings is not the hand we've been dealt, for the hand can change at any moment. I'll just speak a few more. We take our own measure by how well we play the hand we've got, right? So a little reference to some Texas Hold'em, right? Right. It's how well we play the hand we've got now. If you're suffering, you try to continue the unskillful, or you try not to continue the unskillful mental habits that would keep that particular karmic feedback going, right? So craving, it impels a person to engage in action, which is why it's the cause of suffering. Because the action is leading to the karma, or is the karma, I should say. It's not different. We're designed to satisfy craving. We're designed that. That's our kind of human impulse, right? But how can we work with that? There's an ever-changing process. Service is one of the ways we can work with transforming karma, being of service, being compassionate, learning some compassion for our neighbor, our friends, our bosses, the people that piss us off, our parents, our loved ones. If we see that other people are suffering and you're in a position to help. You focus not on their karmic past. And this is where I think there's definitely an Indian kind of Hindu misunderstanding. And I experienced this when I was in India quite a few times, where the general consensus is this is your destiny. You're a street person, you have only one, you're missing a limb, you're a leper, this is your fate because of your negative past karma. And that and in that way dismissing a very important component and opportunity for one's own work, right? That and I was kind of, because when I went to India, I didn't have a Hindu or Indian kind of, or a yogic kind of understanding of karma. I had a Buddhist understanding of karma, as infantile as it was. But people would say, there's all kinds of levels of that kind of understanding of kind of homelessness and but to hear, there were certain people that I was spending time with and traveling with and stuff, and they were, and mostly Indian, and they would just dismiss and be like, yeah, that's their karma. And then it was almost like a cold dismissal, like not caring at all. There was no compassion. And the other side is that we as Westerners, we care too much, and then you get droves of 50 little children that actually are working for the mafia, literally, trying to steal from you, right? Take your backpack and your so it's like there's this kind of, you have to play the middle way. Seeing the suffering, not dismissing it, and as just, oh, that's their karma. So they're destined to be that way. Oh, it's fated. It's not what karma is from the Buddhist perspective. And the opportunity will present itself where we can be of service. It doesn't, and I think I talked about this maybe last week or the other, I don't know, I talked about it a lot. But this idea of it doesn't mean that we have to be do-gooders all the time, and go. And sometimes that's, that may be the heart's generosity. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with being generous, being kind, but also maintaining balance, right? Letting go of the outcome, help when we can, but also support ourselves. It's useful. So there's this teaching from the Buddha. When this is, that is. From the arising of this comes the arising of that. When this isn't, that isn't. From the stopping of this comes the stopping of that. This, that conditionality. Cryptic, I know. It's like that's totally the Buddha right there. When this is, that is. This, that conditionality. From the arising of this comes the arising of that. All phenomena is preceded by the heart. You were right, Etienne. That's the way that it's talked about. When this isn't, that isn't. From the stopping of this comes the stopping of that. From the stopping of being so clinging, so attached to outcome comes the ceasing or the stopping of the agitated mind or suffering. This, that conditionality. And I'll end with this. This is kind of shifting into talking about the kind of the impermanent nature of things. Although we imagine, this is actually from from Tanasaru Bhikkhu or Tanjef. Although we imagine ourselves to be a self, a real substantial individual, according to the Buddhist teaching, we are in reality nothing more than a flame-like process, an ever-changing combination of matter and mind, neither of which is the same for 2 consecutive moments. All the components of our being are impermanent, unsatisfactory, and devoid of self. Life is not a being, an identity, but a becoming, not a product, but a process. There is in actuality no doer, only a doing, no thinker, only a thinking, no goer, only a going. I just love that. I feel like it encapsulates not self. So let's not take it too seriously. And let's pay attention to the ending of Dionne Warwick. All right, we have like 1 minute. Is there a thought or question that can be wrapped up in 1 or 2 minutes? Please.
So when you talked about the past is not your karma, the thing that came up for me was forgiveness. And I think in large part, I think that's like ideal, the past not being your karma, when we live in a pretty unforgiving society. So like that just reminded me of the importance of forgiveness of self for all that I've done, but forgiveness of others so that they can be different. That was really powerful.
Just one quick story. I held on to resentment and anger to my mother for a really long time. And part of it was my stuff, and part of it was I was seeing her with an old map. I was seeing her when I was 12. I was seeing her in this and I was projecting that onto her. And so it allowed me to be able to hold this resentment, this image. And I didn't allow her to change. I didn't allow her to be forgiven or be forgivable, right? And then that shifted. And it's because of this practice, you know. And it's because of seeing, oh, I've changed. Of course she's changed. You know, we all change. So that was part of it. So that's what I got from what you were just saying. We're unfortunately out of time. So come back next time or come back Monday. And okay, yeah, go ahead. Real quick. Real quick. Ashley. You have to unmute yourself.
I just wanted to share the same thing happened to me from meditation, because for some reason meditation for me is a self-healing thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also an inner child type thing for me.
Right.
And I'm going to go back to the breathing thing. Once I got in the group.
Ashley, I'm sorry. We're out of time. I need to end on time.
Okay. Next
right.
time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So just to say, for those of you who are in the room, there is a bowl, and then there's also a Venmo. The Venmo is Against the Stream Meditation. For those of you online, thank you so much for attending. And yeah, I like to end on time. And there's a link. I'm sure Mike probably put it in there. Yep, there's a link online so you can donate to us. Gathering all the goodness of our practice, that we are so fortunate to hear the Dharma, to hear the truth, and just to allow that in and participate with a Sangha. May all the goodness of our practice be dedicated to the freedom from suffering for all beings. May all beings be free, even you, even me. Phenomena. No. Phenomena. No.